My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. This is documentation 9:01 a.m., approximately 8:59 a.m. to approximately 9:02 a.m. It's 9:03 a.m. right now. The entity is stalking by helicopter. This is an entity that so let me speak to what I'm doing. The entity has the fake sun. The city of Upland is already prosecuted. They're prosecuted while the entity kept the fake sun in Ontario, California. That was the humiliation, which is direct evidence, which is speaking to a massive amount of people that are out of office, corporations that are being federally prosecuted, and the entity that's going to prison and being committed. While I'm at the Chevron, like you can see and hear on podcasts, and I'm reminding you about the entity stalking me with military planes, which I documented again today, and the fake sun is over me as I'm arriving during the 6 a.m. hour today. 3 hours later, the fake sun's still over me while I'm sitting and looking at the Upland Public Library entrance and the Upland City Hall entrance. Bill Velto is engaged in terrorism while the government has an American citizen that is documenting it, keeping record of it, being stalked by helicopter. The entity is doing this while I am watching YouTube, minding my business, not concerned. The entity is obsessed with me. This is always the case. This has been the whole purpose of the P.O.C, showing how a government is a stalker. So the entity is engaged in what is obsessing over me, concerned with me, and is engaging in what is interfering with, for example, the video, interfering, which is federal stalking. We're all being monitored. So when you have a failure of your internet It's not a failure. It's pursuant to what is ongoing surveillance. So the signal slowing down so that you can perhaps hear what's going on in the background, because a stalker wants your attention. Somebody is craving for you to give them some sort of, in a psychopath, that's not a psychopath's mind. It's not validation when I'm prosecuting you. It's not validation when Bill Velto is going to be federally charged as a terrorist. But this is what an entity is doing. He's going to be charged as a sex offender. He's monitoring my vagina while I'm at the Upland City Hall and when I'm using the restroom at the Upland, public library. When I'm in Ontario, it's proof that Bill Velto is gang stalking while I'm subject to stalking by helicopter. But this is the entity that's engaged in that. Nonetheless, its prosecution is already complete. It's already complete. So I maintain an ongoing running record because Bill Velto will not have any defense in court. And he will speak to all manner of what are legally irrelevant points. He's being prosecuted for the pattern of conduct. And so is the whole city of Upland. But nonetheless, the entity is stalking by helicopter and is interfering with what I'm watching on YouTube, minding my business, not caring less about a whole bunch of people that are obsessed with my vagina. Okay? These are weirdos, and these are also, like I stated, non-humans. They're not humans. These are creatures. So these creatures are following me around and they're stalking me obsessively. They failed at trying to make me look like you're not even human. You're not even on my level, in other words, and you cannot contend with what are the facts that I'm using to prosecute you in a courtroom where creatures are going to be given their day in court and you've already lost. I've already told you how that court case is going to go. So the entity is stalking by helicopter based on obsession with me, which is also a already documented fact. Pattern, in fact. And the entity is doing so with regard to seeking out my attention, literally interfering with the video. Hey, I'm here. I'm stalking. Can you hear the helicopter? Do you hear me? I'm here. This is the entity that's stalking. Those are the homosexuals with inflamed genitalia that rape children, that engage in trafficking, kidnapping, criminal activity, that get into a whole helicopter seeking attention from me, following me around. You're in a helicopter and you're following me around. You're supposed to be in a Maserati and I'm supposed to be chasing you down, right? You get in a helicopter and you're following me around. This is why you have HIV, because you're obsessed with me having sex with a whole bunch of men, and your reckless lifestyle resulted in you manifesting death. In the same way that gang stalking me is you manifesting death. The entity is engaged in that. Death to your career, death to your income, death to your well-being, death to your sane mind, which you do not have, death to the illusions that you're out here as a human being. This is the Nephilim, and the Nephilim's reign of terror is over. The entity is engaging in what is stalking while I'm in Upland, California, under the fake sun. I remain in Ontario. At the Ovid Library, the entity embarrassed itself, stalking with plane after plane after plane, while all those apartment complexes are being prosecuted. Meaning you have a whole bunch of people that are going to be homeless. They can't even pay their rent. You're gang stalking on welfare. You know that you're not getting any more benefits after I prosecute you under the law, right? This is the entity that's engaged in that while I'm in Upland, California, and this is the entity that is prosecuted by science, what is sitting over the Ovid Library, while the military, the homosexuals, the mentally ill, the incompetent that are being committed are stalking by hovering over the Senior Center and the John Stewart Apartment and the City Hall in Ontario at 215 E.C. Street, off of the same Euclid Avenue where this fake sun is setting at 6 and 7 p.m. So that's what the entities do. I want to document that because Bill Velto needs to experience his public exposure, which is speaking. Don't get it confused. Just because I'm not speaking your name every day, I don't have to. You're the stalker. Don't forget that. I'm prosecuting and exposing a system. Everyone is engaging in that pattern of conduct, in other words. Bill Velto is the target now while the fake sun is over me and the entity is stalking by helicopter. And these idiots had the black helicopter over me flying in circles over this office. Bill Velto is going to be what is referred to in the vernacular as dragged in federal court. It's going to be a public dragging as a matter of justice. He's a terrorist. Terrorists are being removed from office. I am literally the bait. I go to your government office and I'm subject to the pattern of conduct. You can await the federal government's response. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:09 a.m. stalking by helicopter at the Upland Public Library. This is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state. And it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, P.O.C. 9XCE546. And Impossible Light is not only on the ground behind the vehicle, but it's subtly moving across the wall. That's their pattern of conduct, the people of the state who are demons. All right, Utah 4QPHO. And pay attention to here. San Bernardino County Sheriff, they're engaged in surveillance. These are stalkers. And like I just documented, the entity is stalking. They are indeed stalkers. The entity is stalking by helicopter. And that's the case when I am inside of what is the Upland Public Library. And the entity is flying over the library. This is the City Hall side. This is Arrow. And that's Euclid Avenue, intersecting right here. While for me, the time is crucial. It is 9:18 a.m. Yesterday, I'm remaining in Ontario, specifically at Euclid Avenue, in the city of Ontario at E as in Edward Street, or E as in Erica. The entity has the fake sun over me, and Amazon Prime is stalking by commercial plane. Amazon Prime is stalking by clear indication of having nothing to do with taking off. You know where the Amazon Prime planes are on Airport Drive, and you have an Amazon Prime hovering over me at the Arco Chevron intersection and doing a U-turn in alignment to my path, just like this is what Amazon Prime did. Flew all the way over from the airport location to stalk me and did it on video like fools, okay? Doing so in furtherance of murder, not just stupid, but not just suicidal with regard to that corporation, but doing so as a co-conspirator of murder. And doing so, which is the entity engaged in that pattern of conduct. And 30 minutes from now, the sun's not going to be in Ontario. And that's what I was juxtaposing to what's going on in Upland, because I was comparing it to the entity stalking me by planes targeting me, where San Bernardino County remains a relevant position. Every plane flying over my head is doing so with the gang stalker. COLLIN SHEEHY is the terrorist that's going to be prosecuted, that's going to be identified under the law as a sex offender. And what I'm speaking and what is evidence is what is going to stay on the internet, and what is also not only discerning demonic spirits who are stalking with the people of the state at commercial venues, engaging what is demonic activity and what is criminal activity. And COLLIN SHEEHY is a leader of terrorism here, where the entity is at a venue keeping me surrounded. 8XBR033, that's just another lesbian stalking. San Bernardino County is engaged in vagina monitoring inside of the bathroom of the Upland Public Library, where the fake sun, remains here until I leave after 6 p.m., where there is nothing other than surveillance that you're witnessing San Bernardino County Fire engage in. Criminal facilitation is also the charge that department's going to be subject to. While there's psychopaths stalking me under the fake sun, stalking me on this street while they're tracking my steps, and as I walk out of the library, they're tracking my steps, stalking here, turning on their sirens and driving down Euclid Avenue, doing so after 6 p.m., which is on video, under this fake, would not still be here, where San Bernardino County is engaged in criminal summoning, using the lights on the vehicles, doing so at the facilitating venue. So they're also targeting by evidence of the scientific evidence that I've captured when I'm at the parking lot right in front of the entrance doors and the fake sun is over me after 2 p.m. License 8EBM513, stalking with the government that's going to be defunded. CW2WAGO, stalking with the government. License JZDIVA, unfit to be in the medical field, unless she's a cancer survivor. This is the end, but if that's a reference to a registered nurse, she will not be in nursing. I'm documenting terrorists, and you're not going to be in the medical field. This is why they're not going to be in law enforcement. They're not going to be engaged in any firefighting. This is surveillance that's been exposed. And the entity has this fake sun over me at the end of the day, where Upland police are stalking under the fake sun, which is 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 and 10 hours from now. We're criminal summoning by American Medical Response, but you're looking what the fire department is doing under the fake sun. This is Euclid Avenue right here, where the entities engage in this pattern of conduct. And yesterday, I'm in Ontario. And the day before that, while I was yesterday in Ontario, I was reminding you about the fact that I'm here, which is the entity that is stalking, 9UTZ407. You'll recall on this street, Amazon Prime, amongst the rest of the demons, are stalking, while this fake sun is merely right here, blazing over this street, where the demons who are BOA 5AZ Arizona plate, stalking with impossible light moving across the wall. The entity stalking me in the middle of the afternoon on this same street by helicopter activity. This is already on the record while San Bernardino is demonstrating the necessity of psychiatric intervention, defunding criminal activity for what is federal stalking and furtherance of murder, and that is a basis to remove what is criminal expenditure of funds. Where Bill Velto is in this office of what is the Upland City Hall, where I am subject to stalking by helicopters. This is the entity engaged in psychological torture, and it's impunity because they're monitoring right now and they're still engaging. All of this is being analyzed under the law. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's monitoring my vagina, okay? The entity that's psychotic, driving all day long, while the fake sun remains over the Upland Public Library all day long. And all they're doing is sounding sirens over and over and over again, over and over and over again, which is what I'm embarrassing them with when I'm at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where the sun would not still be in the same city, same location. Nonetheless, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, while it's over the Upland Public Library right here, and I'm at Ovid. SHEELBBR is mentally ill. Stalking with amplified audible activity, that's a demon, and their mental illness with regard to what is their behavioral health concern, monitoring somebody that's documenting them. They also do that with helicopter activity. While they pull out all these big toys, like a fire truck stalking somebody, like an airplane stalking somebody, like a police vehicle, while you're engaging in that, while you're pulling out all manner of surveillance, this is the entity that's going to be committed, and you will be committed stalking with light. That's what those that are unfit to be in firefighting are demonstrating right now, while they're engaged in federal stalking violation, Title 18, Section 2261A, subsection 1 and 2. And they're doing so in concert with the state. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:24 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. And San Bernardino County is stalking with light activity as well, the fake sun. This is P.O.C. The entity was stalking me while I'm at the John Stewart Company Metro 102 apartments last night. Flew over my head, flew in circles. The entity clearly targeting, and I want to be clear, the entity that's clearly targeting is doing so while they are exposing what are the departments. This is relevant to what is defunding, shutting down the hubs of surveillance in every city. The gang stalking city hall, the gang stalking courthouse, the gang stalking police, the gang stalking sheriff's department, the gang stalking fire departments. They're engaged in surveillance, okay? That's the city hall. This is the Upland Public Library. They're in here, and hours from now, the helicopter that is stalking me is doing the same while I'm inside of this venue, and I'm sitting at the other wall with the windows above it, where I showed you the fake sun during the 6 a.m. hour. It's currently 9:40 a.m., so that was approximately 3 hours ago, and the fake sun is still over me. The entity is indeed clearly stalking by helicopter. A serial stalker. He's going to be committed, very seriously ill. Seriously ill. Just like the lesbian, the malnutrition lesbian, these are the demon-possessed that are obsessively stalking, and they are going to be treated, and it's going to include involuntary treatments, but it's not different with the demons that are stalking with light, San Bernardino County Fire. As the entity stalking me by helicopter inside of this Upland Public Library, fake sun, you can see it, and it's doing so during the 1 p.m., 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's speaking to the entity, the specific environment, and you're recalling the entity is not only stalking me everywhere by helicopter, speaking to the city of Upland, engaged in a conspiracy to commit murder, speaking to the repeal of the Baker Act, where no gang stalking entity such as the state of California shall prosecute or interfere with anyone's liberty rights concerning their property and assets, where they are first engaging in surveillance, and secondly, what I've shown, engineering information, manufacturing that which is appearing as mental illness under the Baker Act. When the entity, moreover, thirdly, what I'm also proving through the P.O.C., the entity is the one that is mentally ill. The entity that is stalking you by helicopter is trying to engineer mental illness when you assert that you're being stalked is the psychopathic disorder that is relevant for what is this entity being involuntarily committed. The psychopaths that are in the medical field defaming your character, using and abusing their positions while they are gang stalking you and psychologically torturing you. And the entity engaged in psychological torture is that same entity with those psychopathic disorders. This is that P.O.C. Alrighty? It is currently, like I stated, let me get the, hold on. My screen is dim, but I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I can't see the time, but it's 9:49 a.m. where I'm in Ontario right now, where I'm at Chevron, where the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is the P.O.C. Okay, the time of my phone screen was dim because my battery went down to 5%. That's an annoying automatic function of the phone. But anyway, it's 9:41 a.m. in that video. It ends at 9:41 a.m. And it is still accurate that at this time yesterday, I go to Chevron and I make a purchase, and then I step outside, and this is when the entity is stalking. And what you'll pay attention to often, what the entity is engaging in, when I begin documenting, the demons come closer. And that's because they are indeed engaged in what is mentally ill behavior. It's being diagnosed with regard to literally a psychiatric disorder, but they engage in coming closer while they're monitoring. So this is when Penske truck, the demons operating the Penske truck, they drive onto the property. The demon gets out of the vehicle. He's pacing on the sidewalk, keeping his device on. The demons are going to the gas stalls. They're maintaining close presence as possible. When I am, another example, when I am documenting and embarrassing the demons at the Ontario Police Department after they committed the July 13, 2026 kidnapping, and I am showing the fake sun that has, by the way, not been over anywhere near the 60 freeway, over the roof of the, or entrance doors, or creating any sort of sunlight inside of that Ontario Police Department at 2500 South Archibald Avenue, which is while the entity's keeping the fake sun over the Ovid Family Community Library from sunrise till sunset, over the Upland Public Library when I'm not remaining in Ontario, and at what point in the natural environment, speaking to surveillance, demons operating a police department that's being disbanded, the Ontario police that are keeping a fake sun over me, engaging in public corruption, criminal activity with the people, and they're supposed to be law enforcement, executing the law against those that are in violation of it, and that police department's in violation of the law. That's the police department that's conspiring murder. But nonetheless, in the video that I documented, the entity is stalking in the path, and in the midst of criminal conduct that is highly probative. The evidence is to the level now that everyone knows what they're looking at, and you understand the purpose of the P.O.C. You're not under any illusion, and you are able to see the malice of what is also in the environment. It's hidden, if you will, but that which is hidden is now in plain view because you understand what you're looking at. And what you see in the sky over me all day long, as I show you that clear evidence of what is a suspicious environment, you're looking at how could it be over you. So we're in an environment where no one's telling, oh, we've got more than one sun here, when we just compare myself to anybody else that I could Facebook Live in Idaho. Okay, so the entity has what is more than one sun. This is contrary to what science, even what the Holy Scriptures, what God himself has designed. And the government's been silent about it, talking about fables that YouTube likes to promote and perpetuate, such as global warming. And if you speak about anything that is speaking against such fables, YouTube is interfering in what is spreading the truth, or spreading anything that would contradict those lies, in other words, because they could replace a lie with another lie. But YouTube does not have a legitimate interest. Google is engaged in surveillance, and they're engaged in maintaining the illusions that serve this system. Okay, and that's why I want to be clear, those that are engaging in it, like the entity that's stalking me by helicopters and engaging what is seeking to defame your character when you're stalking, and then you're supposed to be able to call that person crazy because there's no proof that you're stalking and nobody's ever heard of that, and everybody that says that is the entity doesn't have that against me. I'm prosecuting based on what the ordinary target individual does. I didn't talk to anybody about what the government is doing. I conducted this investigation and immediately started putting on the internet. The entity immediately started kidnapping me. And it is the entity's engagement and monitoring me. That's why they started targeting in this manner with the gang stalking police departments, and also engaged in what is jumping ahead of schedule. Wait, why are you calling me crazy when I haven't told you anything about you stalking me? I'm not going, oh, please help me. The Upland police are stalking me. The people in the library are stalking me. I didn't tell any medical professional that. In fact, you kidnapped me, and then you just started making up stuff about my character. And you left out the fact that you committed a crime against me to be in my presence, and then try to engineer or manufacture the appearance of some doctor-patient relationship. You left all that out too when you engaged in what is monitoring with the intent to obstruct justice, because you are in fact a stalker, and you know that I'm exposing you. And that's what that entity engaged in. That's the entity doing so when I am not the ordinary target individual. I didn't report anything to the stalker who I already knew was engaged in targeting me. I immediately started this investigation. The entity immediately started targeting me, kidnapping, seeking to defame my character before I would be able to have a platform, if you will, where anyone would listen. All right. It's the same thing. It's just that they didn't get I didn't go report it to anybody. So before my report was this public investigation. So the entity starts defaming. But typically the ordinary target individual is going to go to a hospital, is going to talk to their parents, going to talk to their friend, going to talk to their employer. They're going to talk to someone. And that those are the people of the state that are closest to you, and they are poised to defame your character. It's a set that they set the stage for it. And that's where the entity is engaged in that. And the target individual also doesn't know what they're subject to, and they may even cooperate with it, and they will consent. But under the law, it's still a kidnapping. It's still criminal defamation. You cannot consent to criminal activity by the government. The government that's clearly stalking by helicopters. And I wanted to speak to the video ends at 9:41. So it was a dark screen on my phone, so I did my best to try to see it. So what I thought was a 9 is actually a 1, and it's not inaccurate at this time. It's 9:49 a.m. right now. The fake sun is over me, where the people of the state, including Rosa, who's engaged in harassment at Ovid Family Community Library on March 2nd, 2026, and March 3rd is where this entity engaged in the unlawful ejection from the Ovid Family Community Library, and her stalking me is a matter of scientific evidence. And so everything that this entity would state, talking about, I did this to you, I did that to you, they're going to be committed with that malicious evidence. It's psychotic and delusional, and you're in denial with reality. And the psychiatric, the medical field is going to help you be able to cope with real life. Okay, but the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the fake sun is over me while I'm at Chevron right now capturing video. And this is when Penske is coming closer. The people of the state, they come closer. They're demons. The entity does so by helicopter. They come closer to me when I start documenting. That's psychotic. They're stalkers. These are, again, non-humans. Envious demons, non-winners. And the entity, why would you provide this evidence? Bill Velto is going to be answering for this criminal activity. All the employees, they're all losing there will be no more City of Upland employees. These are gang members, and I've established a pattern of conduct. This is terrorism. They're all losing their job because you're suicidal, because you know that you're losing your money and you're angry at me, so you think that it's a good idea still to stalk me by helicopter. That's why you're going to prison. This is the entity. You're talking about dealing with psychopaths. So the psychopath's going to be met with federal consequence after federal consequence after federal consequence. Okay, this is what the entity is doing, though, by that foolish act of stalking me by helicopter, which I just documented right now. And it's a pattern of conduct with the city of Ontario, where the entity is keeping this fake sun. The entity is stalking me, where all of the departments in Upland, California are also prosecuted by virtue of that evidence. The fake sun is remaining. AMR is prosecuted by that video, that single video. The San Bernardino County Fire, the city of Upland City Hall, which is the local government, the municipality, that office, all of the employees. The employees of Upland Public Library don't have they're all going to prison. I'm directly in there documenting and prosecuting them. And the entities engaged in this while they are monitoring with the people of the state. This is the entity that's engaged in that. So in court, when Sean Thrasher and Adam Tuckerman are being prosecuted, you're talking about the totality of facts regarding the P.O.C. And Adam Tuckerman would contend that the only thing that he can contend, I don't know anything about it. In other words, or seeking to deflect, I'm some horrible person and I must be imagining. In other words, legally irrelevant. And no defense, because Sean Thrasher is prosecuting Adam Tuckerman, and Adam Tuckerman is prosecuting Sean Thrasher. The city of Upland is prosecuting the city of Ontario. This is a prosecution of the state of California, who is engaging in criminal activity and in violation of what is the very Baker Act, because you are not establishing, or you don't have any jurisdiction to manufacture, which is what it is, which is not the practice of medicine, which is the inapplicable use of what is the Baker Act, which this government that is stalking me by helicopter is fully aware of. The entity is mentally ill, also suicidal, psychopathic, delusional, deranged, unhinged, a threat to national security, while those that are in law enforcement, those that are in the military, are stalking in this manner by helicopter because they have lost. And what have they lost? They've lost all of their well-being. They've lost their mind, but they've also lost the ability to control themselves when you are caught. And when you are caught, that's something that you should stop engaging in. If these people were ever competent in the first place, if these people had any business in the positions of authority that they've stolen. Okay, you're talking about people dying in order for them to take these positions. You're talking about people dying upon them taking and assuming these positions. You're talking about dying in order for them to continue being in these roles. All right. The entity is engaging in this conduct while they're stalking by helicopter, and the gang members gather up at the Upland Public Library. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty, you will see that. And literally the fake sun is over me at Chevron. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me while I then go to where Southwest Airlines is stalking me at the Bethel Congregational Church. All the gang members line up to engage in surveillance inside of a library. Understand that this is psychopathic behavior by a mentally ill population. These are the non-humans that are stalking. The entity just engaged in that evidence, and the entity that is unhinged, obsessed. This is a picture of obsession. While they're engaging in the surveillance system that was supposed to be a secret. Erica Spencer removed the secret. So now they're showing you their obsession in HD, because that's what that is. Well, in the face of being caught, we're just going to keep on going. They don't have they have a choice. They have a choice to stop stalking, gang stalking. And because you're still engaging in the pattern of conduct does not mean that you're not obsessed and that you're not, this is the entity that doesn't control the narrative. Oh, you're stalking. And everyone is watching you engaging in gang stalking. And now they're aware of your obsession is on the outside. Your mental illness is on the outside. Okay? The entity, your criminal, your corrupt purposes, your deranged mind, you're wearing it on the outside. That's how clearly it is. While the entity, all the gang members line up outside of the entrance of the Upland Public Library. Okay, so this is the P.O.C. Moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour. You're mindful of what I documented yesterday, and this is the fruit, the wealth of the evidence that is the P.O.C. As you can see, the probative value of it in the aggregate. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:55 a.m. The entity, and what I wanted to say, I brought up Ontario Police Department because in the video at Ontario Police Department, FedEx is gang stalking, and FedEx pulls up right in front of me. Those are the stalkers that come closer while they're monitoring, and they do so stalking in that manner. Oh, and they're focused. I'm getting my package. I'm not concerned about. I don't know. That's the entity that is stalking, and they come closer to me while I capture very damning and probative evidence that's going to put them in mental institutions. So the mentally ill are engaged, the non-humans engage in their mentally ill behavior by outwardly conducting themselves as though they are doing something else. And that is the clear pattern of conduct. And that is the ability to see with very clear eyes what is going to result in the same conclusion as those that are in a clear sight in the courtroom, digging in your diaper and pulling out fecal matter from your backside and putting it in your mouth, because that is equally mentally ill. And the demon-possessed non-humans think that their facial expression or the way that they look or something that they're focused on, something else, is refuting that or rebutting that, and it's not. It's psychotic, and they're in denial. They're in denial. But this is that prosecution. This is the population that's going to be subject to martial law. It is P.O.C. It's currently 9:56 a.m. The entity is all under the fake sun, and these are gang members engaging in surveillance, sexual violence, vagina monitoring. All right, that's what the non-humans that are engaging, and they're doing it on behalf of the entity that's stalking, following me around in helicopters. The entity that is obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with me because I am superior to them, because none of their tactics work. And while they are engaging in an unabated program of psychological torture, it's their demonstration. They're outwardly exhibiting their mental illness that they sought to conceal. It's no longer closeted mental illness. It's out in the open. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:56 a.m. Alrighty, the psychopaths that are lined up outside of the doors of Upland Public Library that act like nothing is happening exhibit their mental instability and their psychopathic disorders while the entity starts sounding helicopter activity again. They're all engaging in transactions with the library. They are also on surveillance cameras. They are also subject to surveillance while they're engaging in what is gang stalking at the venue. And the federal government is aware of everyone that's entering and exiting, and also the fact of any gang stalkers being in custody of children while they engage in this pattern of conduct, which is highly deranged and sexually perverted. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me, and the entity is doing that while the light source is remaining over Bethel congregation, where Southwest Airlines is maintaining that pattern of conduct at that ramp where I walk in, and there's a whole church service, which is the guise of the same P.O.C. And this is what I mean with regard to the entity that's in need of psychiatric intervention. This is the entity that is unfit to be around children. This is the entity that's engaging in that conduct as sex offenders and engaging in what is the desperation to engage in ongoing surveillance at this level. This is that population that's going to be subject to being committed, as opposed to engaging what is the system in order to commit a targeted individual. The targeted individual is having the people of the state committed. It's called martial law. This is P.O.C. Helicopter activity while they are monitoring indeed. It's 10 a.m. Do you work for Anthesis?
Yes.
I thought I saw you. I've seen you before, yeah. You look familiar. You go to Ovid Library?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good to see you. Have a good day. You guys can go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. This is P.O.C. Pacing by the rest of the demons while they know that they're being documented. These are psychopaths. That's why the entity has helicopter activity humming in the background while I start taking pictures, and there everybody's oblivious. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody's talking to you. The entity's engaged. Oh, but they're talking. They're speaking, and they're also admitting psychopathic disorders. In furtherance of that conspiracy to commit murder, gang stalking under a fake sun, it includes corrupt corporations that are engaging in criminal activity under the Welfare and Institutions Code. They're also defrauding the system while they're engaging in what is criminal activity, psychological torture in concert with their clients who are developmentally challenged, who they are using and engaging in criminal activity with. And it is literally the same employee that I documented. She's on the record gang stalking me at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in the morning under the fake sun. This is in 2025. She's also gang stalking at what is the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library, where the two venues are engaging in that P.O.C. You have the demons that are migrating to Upland while they are stalking as I go to Upland Public Library and I'm prosecuting. And this is the evidence of that population. The mentally ill are in fact mentally ill because they're demons, not just because they are physically handicapped or because they're under the title of being developmentally challenged. They're demons. All right, and they're monitoring gang stalking with the government, all the same helicopter activity, same gang stalking under the fake sun and the engineer light, same psychopathic pacing, and the entities doing that, Anthesis will be prosecuted for that. They're also gang stalking on the roads and the highways. They also do so with that same psychopathic tendency. The more I document, the more frequent the helicopter activity becomes. These are the demons that are going to be committed. It is P.O.C. It is currently 10:04 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. It's Malice while they're monitoring me at the reference desk under the fake sun. It's 10:05 a.m. Morning, Mr. Allen. He's trying up a crossing path going into the office. You have a line of demons. This is the fake sun is remaining over me in Ontario. They're in line gang stalking. This is mental illness that is not hidden from anybody anymore. Okay? Malice. That's not hidden. All right? Malice, that's also not subtle. Criminal activity that is overt and not hidden at all. They're also engaged in vagina monitoring with the developmentally challenged as corporations, as the personnel, employees at the venue, as females that want to present as being heterosexual. They're lesbians. They engage in surveillance in this manner as well, lining up. Oh, she's here. This is the moment. I am the moment. The entity engages in that. And the moment is also concerning my vagina in the bathroom. All right, this is the P.O.C., the same entity that's talking in helicopter about my vagina in the bathroom. This is a mentally ill population indeed. It's P.O.C. This old, broken down, crusty library is engaged in monitoring. That's why it's so popular right now. And this is also why corporations are being prosecuted. You're going to drain their pockets. They get business with regard to gang stalking, and I'm going to prosecute them for that. It's gang violence. The profits are directly linked to gang violence. You are not keeping those profits. This is P.O.C. It's 10:07 a.m. Alrighty, you will see the aged Mr. Allen. That is an education regarding mental illness, psychopathic. The same person that bakes you brownies, putting arsenic in it, and praying to Satan for your oncoming demise, going to visit you at the hospital, and even interviewing with law enforcement who are also engaged in targeting you with regard to the, seemingly perplexed state of not knowing how it is that you got into that condition, and meanwhile they're behind your death. They put it in your brownies. This is what's behind the malice of Mr. Allen gang stalking while the entity sounds helicopter activity and all the co-defendants are online. You'll see the fake son. This is P.O.C. Hi, Mr. Allen. Do you have any laptops available?
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's Monday and we're busy.
Excellent. Yeah, really busy, huh?
Yeah, people missed us, I guess, over...
Yeah, you got real popular.
I know.
Upland Public Library. Woot, woot.
All right, you want to follow me? I want to make sure I give you one that's fully charged because it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
You know how those go.
I sure do. It's a means of pacing, psychopathic pacing. Is this one charged? Oh, okay, let me go get another one. Is this one charged? Oh, all right. Let me go get another one. They must not have charged last night. Psychopathic pacing. The entity that seeks to try to cloak its mentally ill pattern. It's under the fake sun and it's not hidden at all. And Allen is engaged in what is psychological torture, which is the city of Upland. The entity's in line at the reference desk, stalking with the employees under the malicious guise of checking out the resources, and the entity is stalking by helicopter simultaneously. And that's what you will see reflected in the images, while I'm also giving context helicopter activity sounds, while I'm describing the fact that this same group is engaged in vagina monitoring, okay, with the same enthusiasm, the same interest. P.O.C.
Excuse me, is the door open or you have to leave?
Oh,
Okay. No, that's okay.
Guess who that is? The demon that's bringing the developmentally challenged to gang stalk and monitor my vagina is the one that's crossing path and asking a question about the study room. It's a P.O.C. It's an opportunity for stalking. They're psychotic. Very sick. All right, let me give you my library card. Oh, did you find one that's charged? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know how Mondays can be.
I understand, I do.
Well, we do this almost every Monday, right?
We do. It's fine, though. I'm used to it.
I had to go through a couple, but
Do you have any, I don't see any. No wipes, huh? No disinfectant wipes?
I can check. We might have paper towels if we don't have wipes,
Okay.
if that works.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just get sanitizer.
How was your weekend?
Productive. Thank you. How about yours?
Not bad. Mellow.
Mellow is good.
No
I like
Disneyland
mellow.
trips this weekend, you know.
That's what I like to hear about.
I know. I'm going to disappoint you today.
All right, in line behind me, stalking. Sitting at the desk, stalking. Standing around the computers, stalking. And doing so, this is what the entity's doing in traffic at the Chevron, and doing so in the church service at Bethel Congregational Church and First Christian Church. Stalking, okay? This is the P.O.C. This level of malice is what's going to require involuntary commitments. Excuse me. Any paper towels? No?
No.
Okay.
Do you want some of the clearances?
It's okay. You have a lot of people. I'll come back.
Okay.
Thank you. Excuse me. Oh, this is so gross. All right, and you're also going to be compensated for the psychological harms behind a group of people that you see, that you are aware of, a government keeping your genitalia under surveillance, and doing so through the absurdly psychotic and unhinged manner of using a helicopter to keep someone's genitalia under surveillance. That is beyond sick. This is exactly the formula for mental instability. And the helicopter, you're going to look down at everybody that's surrounding you because they're all psychopaths that are stalking you together. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:12 a.m. where the city of Upland is being decimated in a federal prosecution, and the entity is one that worships me, and the proof of that is this ongoing evidence of targeting. The targeting is pursuant to stalking. The stalking is for the purpose of monitoring. Monitoring is the inhumane means of surveillance by a public entity that's engaging in psychotic levels of necessarily following you, not just physically following you, but following you with noise and following you with light. And the entity is engaging this with the intent to commit murder and kidnappings, and does so maliciously under the guise of the government having any authority, while they abuse the positions that they have as the police, the sheriff, the court, to engage in substantially altering your liberty rights in any manner. And here the entity sought to criminally defame my character in order to get away with stealing my wealth, stealing my identity. And you can clearly see how inferior this entity is. The audacity, when they can't even spell that word audacity, to engage in this criminal pattern of conduct. And you're a whole feces eating demon. You're an idiot. You're an idiot with a psychopathic dysfunction, and you can't even deal with real life moment to moment while you're gang stalking me. And this is the entity that sought to defame my character and thought that it's a numbers game, because you have a lot of idiots who are vagina monitoring, proven as such. You will never be successful, not against me, and this is establishing that you will never be successful against any American citizen, while the surveillance system is a proven fact. This is the P.O.C. It is 10:14 a.m. Upland Public Library is gang stalking, okay? That is the city of Upland that is gang stalking. That is the state of California that is gang stalking. P.O.C. That's criminal summoning at 10:27 a.m. as I turn on another one of my devices. This is monitoring by the mentally ill who are employing stalking by helicopter as well. This is no question about being targeted. It's P.O.C. Upland Public Library. All right, the stalkers are again engaging in criminal summoning. It's 11:07 a.m. They do so monitoring my device the moment that I am plugging it up to the charger. The fake sun is just sitting over the corner at the library where I'm seated. And outside of the library during the 6 a.m. hour, I captured the fake sun over it. So it's 5 hours, well, going on 5 hours, over 4 hours of the entity maintaining this ridiculous environment where I'm showing the entity is engaged in gang stalking. And this is the city of Upland that's being defunded, the gang membership, the criminal enterprise that's engaged in criminal monitoring with a whole bunch of stalkers that are inside the library. And the employees are the ones that are facilitating it amongst the people of the state. And this is why they're going to prison. It's 11:07 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in psychological torture also, which I'm prosecuting for, which is why I'm documenting as well. P.O.C. I want to be clear, in the same manner that the entity is, as I turn on a phone, as I plug up a charger to a phone, the entity is engaged in this level of stalking and obsessive conduct and invasion of privacy concerning genitalia. P.O.C. P.O.C. License 9KDF047. I documented him stalking under the fake sun. This is a serial stalker, lives in relevant position. This is the venue where the fake sun is over me in the morning, and the military is engaging in a pattern of stalking with California Highway Patrol, Rialto Police. So this is a hot spot right here. And this is indeed the fake sun. Third party did right here, who's facilitating right here at the corner. I'm going to document it. That's covered in engineer light. This is the basis for prison while he is stalking me with the military that's maintaining commercial planes at the same time he's pulling out of his vehicle. This is the entity that's mentally ill, stalking, pacing, tracking my steps. You're stalking me when you know where I'm at, and that pattern of conduct is underway, not coincidentally, but pursuant to stalkers that are monitoring and furtherance of murder. License 9KDF047, who is standing out because I know where his facilitating venue is, which is the basis of prison, but he's stalking with all the rest of them. 4VHU 766, SCHULAW, a gang stalker over at Ovid area, down Euclid Avenue in Ontario. I documented that third party before. This is the entity that's maintaining plane activity far from the Ovid Family Community Library, in other words, which is also evidence of targeting. This is the entity that's engaging in that. My shadow is moving upon. I want you to see the light activity and possible light activity. These are demons. Those are demons. It's not the sun. This is Euclid Avenue. The fake sun's over me in the morning. Moreover, this is not the product of sunlight, even as it's not the sun. These are demons, and the asininity regarding their light activity is evidence of their mental instability, okay? And it's speaking to an existence of a system. 1458 North Euclid Avenue is gang stalking, and this third party who was stalking at the traffic light, who has an obsession with stalking me where he lives, which is identifying the federal government exposing a terrorist to the federal government for 1452 North Euclid Avenue. It's not sunlight. When the sun is over my head in the morning, which I'm documenting at this venue where this entity is engaging in that P.O.C. This is that pattern of conduct, however. This is that entity that's gang stalking, and the entity is exposing its own self to prison. So this is the entity was stalking me by helicopter. This is the entity that's the facilitating video 1452 is a part of that same entity stalking me, knowing exactly who I am, where I'm at, and what I'm doing. And you have an appetite for terrorism, and you are fit for federal prison. So this is that P.O.C. 1510 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity is stalking by helicopter during the 9 a.m. hour. There's not going to be any sunlight. That's never going to be the product of sunlight in the first place. And this is the same location where the entity is stalking by the commercial airline companies, who are all being prosecuted for the conspiracy to murder, which, by the way, the FAA is fully aware of. The FAA is engaged in gang stalking targeting. P.O.C. It is currently 7:17 p.m. All right, this is FedEx stalking at I Street in Euclid. And this is in a relevant position, so the entity is stalking. You'll see the fake moon right here. The entity is stalking, so that's why the entity continuously goes forward in front of me as I'm walking south. That's the same thing you see with the fake sun. The fake sun moves in the direction that I move. The entity that is stalking in planes, which the FAA is being prosecuted for. The FAA is engaged in gang stalking. They know about every plane that takes off. They're not only that, these are monitoring spirits that are maintaining technology and a system. They are aware of every plane that is in the sky. While the entities gang stalking, what police departments that they are aware of are targeting with these planes and these airline companies. That's the P.O.C. This is the entity engaged in criminal summoning, which is confirmation that FedEx is stalking. So are the people of the state. That's why I documented these demons and all their addresses. You already know the Ontario police are stalkers. They're not helping each other. This is P.O.C. FedEx is being federally prosecuted for conspiring murder with the Ontario Police Department. California Highway Patrol, to be specific. That's Ontario Police Department. That's the P.O.C. All right? This is the entity that's engaged in that and doing so at I Street and Euclid Avenue, where the entity has the fake sun rising and setting on Euclid Avenue. California Highway Patrol gang stalking on Euclid Avenue, including right now. California Highway Patrol doesn't have any legitimacy. I'm documenting them on the U.S. highways, on the freeways, while the entity's keeping a fake sun over my sunroof on my vehicle. And California Highway Patrol is not engaged in law enforcement, not investigating, helping people, aiding. They're stalking with light like demons, just like they are now, criminal summoning, with the demons that are engaging in monitoring on the roads and the highways, where they're losing their privilege to drive while they're conspiring murder. And this is why they're losing privileges. Not even privileges. They're losing what is the ability to even access planes, while the city of Ontario, the Ontario International Airport, the Federal Aviation, right, FAA, they're engaged in targeting me. They're aware of every plane and why the planes are flying where they have no business. FAA knows about it. Okay, that's the P.O.C. And this is the entity that's engaged in that. And this is why the president of the airport authority is engaging in gang stalking, because of the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. This is why an Ontario executive team that's supposedly some CEO of the airport is able to engage in the pattern of conduct. The federal government is gang stalking. This is budgeted into the system. Criminal surveillance, using the airlines throughout the states, using the airports throughout the states. Okay, gang stalking hubs. This is P.O.C. That was FedEx. All right, FedEx has no flights that would be over here. This is obvious. This is plain. And it's the same thing with Southwest Airlines that is stalking me while I'm walking down this neighborhood. Remember when the fake sun is over me at 1 in the afternoon? All right, and the entity's gang stalking. California Highway Patrol is doing so, stalking on this street at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's the gang stalker. This is P.O.C. I am at Plaza Serena, where the people of the state are gang stalking 936 North Euclid Avenue. P.O.C. 8PKD649. 8 Paul Kelly David 649. Sexual assault and battery, stalking with light. I've documented and I've been documenting in front of Giant Value Dollar. Gang members congregate in front of that store. This is the people of the state that are helping the corporation stalk me, monitor, keep me surrounded. This is psychotic, obsessive behavior, while a group of people together are cooperatively keeping me surrounded. And that's what they're doing, being in front of the Giant Value Dollar store. This is what the entity's doing when they're stalking in the sky space with planes. The entity's doing so with regard to reliable properties being prosecuted for what is psychological torture, the inherently threatening environment that Giant Value Dollar is, with the people of the state who are sex offenders, who are demons, going into the store and stalking, and doing so in concert with those employees. Sexual assault and battery also by 6KBD 649. License plate, sexual assault and battery, molestation, license 8 Edward Sam Apple 010. And this is reliable property that's engaged in that sexual assault and battery. This is P.O.C. You're looking at what I'm taking a picture right now, psychopathic pacing, stalking in a parking lot. So this is when I'm walking into the bathroom and the demons are already in position in the bathroom stall, lying in wait, stalking, and the fact that they're stalking is the fake sun that's present. The entity is stalking with light. The mentally ill, the demon-possessed are stalking with light. They're subject to martial law and they're going to be committed. They're also sex offenders while they're perpetually molesting your person, stalking with light to monitor you. And this is the system that the government is maintaining, the government that's conspiring murder, and the government that thinks that they can defame someone else when they are exhibiting severe mental instability, and that's going to be handled with in addition to laws being repealed. But the entities engaging in this conduct, and Reliable Properties is engaging in what is committing sexual assault and battery while all the stalkers are in the venue. Like when I walk in the bathroom and you see all the stalkers in the bathroom stalls. They are waiting for me to enter, waiting for me to arrive, then they exit the bathroom stalls, pacing and doing so, creating light activity. The fake sun is over the building. The entity has the fake moon over Reliable Properties. I capture that. The entity is stalking with light activity, molesting my person. They're engaging in what is gang violence. A whole bunch of vagina monitors are grouped up outside of the entrance of the store, and a gang of vagina monitors enter into the store, pacing while they are following me around as an entity. Okay, I'm going to prosecute corporations for this. 8VSS771 is a sex offender, is conspiring my murder and stalking with the government, and is doing so as a violent sex offender, refusing to stop touching my person while they are stalking in furtherance of committing murder. The entity is engaged in that, and the government testifies to the guilt of the people of the state while they are stalking me in planes like FedEx at I Street and Euclid Avenue, while the entity is progressively moving in the direction that I'm moving, which is south down Euclid Avenue, and in the morning when I'm walking to Upland, north up Euclid Avenue, with the entity keeping a fake sun. There was no sun in Ontario, California, in the natural environment where the mentally ill are being prosecuted based on reality and the malice behind their asinine specific environment, where they will be also involuntarily committed because of their mentally ill pattern of conduct. The psychotic group conduct of demons that are pacing all around one person that they worship and stalk and are hostile to, while that person speaks to the fact of being a sex offender and obsessively stalking me. This is P.O.C. It is currently, this is the criminal activity of Giant Value Dollar. That's, again, a little mom and pop shop that's engaged in poisoning, that's engaged in stalking with the government that is presenting evidence against them. This is stalking with the government that is engaging in what is providing evidence against the people of the state. In other words, the co-defendant that are turned with regard to the use of the evidence. The co-defendants have turned against each other. Where the government is stalking, the people of the state are guilty of gang stalking. Where the specific environment is present, the government is stalking, which is where the people of the state are stalking. Where the people of the state are present, that specific environment is there, and that's where the government is stalking, and that's where the people of the state are stalking. And the people of the state are mentally ill, delusional, psychopaths in denial, while they've engaged in criminal summoning, harassment, theft, and all manner of obstruction of justice tactics because they believe if they behave in a certain manner or look a certain way, psychotic and delusional, that they are going to be able to insist on innocence. And this is the entity that is absurdly psychotic. They will be locked down with martial law. They will be removed from the roads and the highways. They're stalking me on Euclid Avenue. They're stalking in the sky space. And the FAA is engaged in stalking as I'm documenting the city of Ontario, like I documented the city of Los Angeles, while I'm in Orange County, and John Wayne is stalking while the entity is targeting in conformity to a pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. Go ahead and show you the entity that is stalking, which is speaking to what Giant Value Dollar is engaging in inside of the store. You're going to be committed. You're going to be prosecuted for stalking inside of stores, stalking inside of bathrooms, stalking on the roads and the highways. Psychotic and deranged, unhinged means stalking as a company. When you present yourself as a business that's interested in making money and you're actually just interested in stalking, in the same way that the entity is going to be committed for stalking using commercial planes. The entity is flying over Ray-Ban Mortgage Premium at 537 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is literally rising and setting as a matter of evidence. Doing so, flying over the venue where the people of the state are stalking in concert with them. And this is directly indicative of the license plates of the people of the state that I'm documenting stalking with this government. And that is the entity that is exhibiting mental illness while they engage in stalking me, arriving in the place like they do in bathrooms. Oh, she's coming, she's coming, she's coming. Everybody takes their place in a bathroom stall to then engage in what is pacing in and out of the bathroom, in and out of the bathroom stalls, stalking with activity while they're monitoring with the vagina monitors that are going by commercial airline company names. That's the shutdown of that Ontario International Airport. This is the entity I'm capturing video right now. You see this distance? This is not a takeoff. This is F as in Frank Street, and this is a stalker engaged in surveillance. They're monitoring and stalking me, and so is the establishment that they're engaging in criminal presence at. And that's why you're being prosecuted regardless of your business hours. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's maintaining simultaneously plane activity over Woodside Senior Apartments. You look at that, where that's at the Google, on the Google Maps. It's in that direction. While the entity is engaging what is stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library. And on Google Maps, you'll see where I'm at. This is F Street, C Street. The entity is engaging what is hovering. And the entity is also, you're looking at what is inaudible flight by the city of Ontario that's stalking. And this is where the drug addicts gather. Aegis is being shut down. They're a gang stalking distribution center of narcotics, and they're engaging in criminal activity with the drug addicts themselves, okay? And these are drug addicts that are in the military, okay? Drug addicts that are engaged in child rape, criminal activity that is not distinct from the people of the state. By the way, they're engaging in gang stalking, and these are criminals that are engaging in a corrupt way of being and existing while they abuse their position in government, and all to find out that the entity that's gang stalking me as the corrupt government, they're a bunch of HI infected homosexuals that are engaged in child rape, child trafficking, and theft, calculated, long-term invested theft. They're equally drug addicts, okay? This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:07 p.m. The entity is stalking. Laurelwood Apartments is being prosecuted. They've got a playlist. They're being federally prosecuted. You've got a gang stalking law office right here. You have this entity. This is F Street and Euclid Avenue, where the entity is rising and setting the fake sun. This is Starbucks at 507 Euclid Avenue, committing kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department. This is an ongoing hotspot right here, and this is the entity where they are stalking. And then you have the entity that has presented itself as a police department, that has presented itself as a fire department, that are presenting themselves as engaging in what is, this is the entity that's not even, they're not even presenting as an airport. The entity is clearly stalking. This is where the entity is heavily stalking by helicopter as well. This is P.O.C. And this is the entity that's engaging us. I'm going to capture license plates now. This is the same location where the Upland Police Department are stalking during the 9 a.m. hour during Pacific Standard Time. And this is where the fake sun remains as I'm remaining in Ontario, and it sets here at the same corner where Upland Police are on the record stalking me at this bus stop as well. This is also where the entity kidnapping at this bus stop. And it is indeed kidnapping when you are responsible for the oppressive state that I'm in. You stole my money. You're gang stalking me on the job in order to create what is the homelessness state, and then you try to criminalize it while you are stalking me literally by being at that bus stop, which is also evident. And this is also why you don't have authority under the municipal code, even though the vagina monitors really believe that they have authority because I am actually sleeping at a bus stop and they do not. Criminal surveillance rebuts and directly contends with everything that a gang stalking police department would assert. They don't have an argument, they don't have authority, and they're going to prison. That's what Hazelwood and Owens are committing, where this is an entity that's stalking me at the same place right here by planes and by the people of the state and with impossible light activity. They're already going to prison. You can see their mental illness in the videos where they committed kidnapping. Their mental illness is exhibited, very clearly exhibited. They're going to be subject to mental institutions in addition to time in prison. P.O.C. license 7V8139. This is a demon engaging in surveillance stalking with light. They're engaging in this while the entity is stalking, flying over Raybon mortgage premium at 537 North Euclid Avenue while the planes are flying over. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. Stalking with light is mentally ill behavior, and the entity that's exhibiting this level of impunity is subject to federal prison. They are gang stalking with the entire city of Ontario. This is the behavior that is following me, in addition to the government that is punctuating the gang stalking system, stalking my planes, helicopters, law enforcement, fire departments, and ambulances. This is the people to say the demons who are engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. and this is requiring specific knowledge. This is a vagina monitor, okay, that knows who I am, and that's why they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. 8:10 p.m. And this is also Bethel Congregation, where the airport, with that video that I just captured, they're flying over Bethel Congregation. They're flying at the intersection of F and UCLID. I just want to be clear where I'm at because this is all relevant to prosecuting. There's a history of evidence right here, and everybody's being prosecuted while the entity is gang stalking. Stalking with impossible light is license 7 Victor Henry Victor 139 with the demons that are stalking at Euclid Avenue. Impossible light activity. The gang members that are going to lose privileges to be on the roads and the highways. P.O.C. All right, so you'll see in the images the demon that is stalking with light activity at the intersection of F Street and Euclid. This is what the Ontario Police Department are doing while they are stalking, as it is proven through the body of evidence when you are able to see that a police department is engaging in criminal surveillance as opposed to driving and representing law enforcement, engaging in anything remotely related to, tethered to, reasonably in furtherance of the execution of the duties of officers. They are stalking with light under the fake sun at F Street and Euclid, and they're doing so, and the nighttime version of that is what the third party with license 7 Victor Henry Victor 179 is doing, stalking in the path. Doing so, which is psychotic. And the police departments do this conspicuously while you are ignorant about the environment and the significance of them using light. At nighttime, it's not light that is creating the multiple shadows, the vacillating shadows, the shadows that are perpendicular, upright, flat on the ground, on the ceiling above your head. The engineer light that's moving, that's not the product of headlights. And these are demons that are stalking, and it's the same with the Ontario Police Department. And the entity that's engaging in this, first of all, I took pictures, and you'll see the entity is surrounding me. This demon is stalking at the corner with light. I'm always capturing this while I'm walking down the street. The demons that are stalking with light, while they are, again, already aware of my presence. You are stalking and you're lying in wait to be engaged in the pattern of conduct before I arrive there. The entity is engaged. So this is the entity that is absolutely engaged in stalking as an entity. All right. So the entity is admitting knowledge while they engage in the pattern of conduct. This is targeting. You're targeting somebody that you know who is the person that you are monitoring. So the entity is stalking with light. This third party is at F Street and Euclid with the lights on, and you know that that's engineer light because I'm documenting that same thing, and I'm showing you the light activity like what I documented at that bus stop where the demon possessed were engaged in psychopath. The video evidence, the body of evidence at the Raybon premium mortgage venue is the evidence to remove the people of the state from driving on the roads and the highways. Because all they were doing was stalking, and they were doing so because I was at a bus stop. So they were stalking me by driving by over and on and on and over and over. And they were doing so with engineer light. And during the day, as I showed, demons like L. Edwards, demons like Jay Sandoval, the entity that's engaging in what is stalking with demons like C. Gerber and A. Ornelas, who are under you can put all of those demons together and the evidence of the fake sun, and it's vacillating from morning until evening at that same bus stop. These are demons that are engaging in surveillance, and the gang stalking conduct of the entire department in the aggregate, in other words, is how you are able to see that, and thereby you are being diagnosed. You shall be subject to mental examinations for seeking to maliciously engage in targeting someone, which is committed as a group, not as an individual. So they need the rest of their partners to share in that pattern of conduct to accomplish that targeting system. You're not stalking by yourself. The entity is doing so. You will see targeting when Jay Sandoval and L. Edwards and Ornelas and Gerber are engaging in what are stalking me, in addition to Owens and Hazelwood that are engaging in that pattern. Then you are able to see that pattern, which is evident in the environment. All right, where the entity would like to suggest that you are a criminal and that you're in violation of the city, the municipality's policy, procedure, rules, the law, the municipal code. All right. And that same police department is the reason why you're homeless. And of course, that's not addressed when you get that citation. And that citation is speaking to what is a bigger issue, a bigger purpose, which is to defame your character. You're such a problem. You're such a criminal. When Ornelas and Gerber and Jay Sandoval and L. Edwards, when Hazelwood and Owens, in other words, the department is engaged in what is stalking you collectively. And this is how they establish that. This is how they defame your character. While they're stalking you, they are wearing police uniforms. So they are creating what is a paper trail. That's called libel. The entities abusing their positions, and they create label. And you know what else prosecutes Gerber and Ornelas and Hazelwood and Owens? The airport stalking, the airline stalking at that bus stop, which is exactly what I documented. And the people of the state engaging in the same pattern of conduct, stalking with light. And that's what you're doing under a fake sun at a bus stop where you're harassing me, and I am sleeping outside because you have gang stalked me to that point where you do not have authority under the law, under any law, including while I'm sleeping at the bus stop, which is what you want, while you're stalking me, acting like you're engaged in policing. Nobody is engaged in policing in the specific environment. Nobody, not even them. And under the law, you are not engaged in policing. They are actually engaged in criminal surveillance. They're engaged in bullying. They've engaged in what is a contract to take my life. And before the Ontario police succeeded in taking my life, they engaged in what is kidnapping. And this is how, when you're stalking me and you're arresting me, the Ontario police engaged in a series of kidnappings intentionally, maliciously, knowing that I have committed no crime, knowing that, and this is the entity's knowledge is proven through the specific environment, it's proven through the malicious conduct that they've engaged in, what they know versus what they actually did and versus what they represented. And this is why they're going to prison, because police officers that turn on their sirens and speed down the street are able to hit a human person and they lose their life, and the entity's engaged in criminal summoning, and they're able to assert that it was an accident, or even that person that was hit pursuant to surveillance, where these monitoring spirits that wear police uniforms, who are engaged in targeting like the Ontario police are engaged in what is assuming the risk because you're on your skateboard in the middle of the street. Whereas under the fake sun, they're monitoring you on a daily basis, knowing that you always ride that skateboard in the middle of the street, and engaged in what is premeditated murder, malice murder, by turning on their sirens to abuse their position in order to engage in what is speeding down the street, where they aim straight for you and hit you and take your life, in concert with the people of the state who witness what the entity intentionally refers to, assumes at the outset is an accident. And I am showing you the pattern of conduct where the airport, which the FAA is aware of, every plane that is taking off is not ignorantly or mysteriously or secretly taking off. They know when it's flying over the Stater Brothers. They know when it's flying behind the Stater Brothers at Hope Boulevard in the parking lot, like my evidence shows. They know when they're flying over and over at 2 o'clock in the morning when there's no flight scheduled from the Ontario International Airport. They know when they're doing U-turns in the middle of San Bernardino and UPS isn't even headed to the airport. They're just engaging what is free-flowing stalking in those planes when I'm visiting the city of San Bernardino. The FAA, it is their job, and they are very much aware of every single plane. That's their job. The FAA is targeting. I'm honing in on the entity, the airport, those that are in authority, in positions of authority regarding the airport. But understand that this is the government. This is a system. L&D WAPNER can't monitor my vagina at Woodside Senior Apartments inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, but for the FAA engaging in a system which is underway in Ontario, California. And he is paid as a glorified gang stalker, given a position as a president, sitting on the Ontario City Council that is engaging in what is gang stalking me, while the airport is maintaining flights over F Street in Euclid, where the police are gang stalking with lights, psychopathic conduct pursuant to demons who are monitoring, who know when you're in the middle of the street on a skateboard, who calculate the time that they turn on sirens, tracking your steps to commit malice murder and abuse their position in order to get away with it and just claim that they'll conduct an investigation. That's what LAPD has engaged in. While you are looking at what is California Highway Patrol engaging in criminal summoning while FedEx is stalking at I Street in Euclid, not only is the FAA aware of that, they're not doing something sneaky in the city of Ontario and in the city in California like the FAA. No. They know about every plane. So this is right. Understand the bigger picture. They also know about the police that are stalking me with the planes, because I have the pattern of conduct shared together with the Ontario Police and the Ontario International Airport. You will see that ongoing pattern. They like to gang stalk me, doing so while they are triggered by something that I'm publishing. And what do you see Gerber do? Gerber drives by in slow motion, likes to say my name on the speaker while he's driving an Ontario Police vehicle. And then Southwest Airlines flies right over at the same time under the fake sun. This is the entity that's engaging in that. And I have him stalking at the same location after 6 p.m. in the evening. The FAA is aware about what Southwest Airlines is engaging in. The FAA is also aware that it's in concert with the demons, the stalkers, the co-conspirators of murder, the thieves, the child rapists, the demons, the undiagnosed psychopaths of Ontario Police Department. This is how that system operates. And the people of the state are a bunch of psychopaths who are stalking in places on behalf of the police. They go into the bathroom stalking with the police. They go into the restaurant stalking with the police. They go into the apartment complex and live there stalking on behalf as a way of life with the police, which is why you're going to prison. Gang stalking residents, you're getting locked up. They go into the library stalking all day long on behalf of the police that sound sirens all day long every time I move my left foot. Okay, the entity's engaging in that, and the FAA is very much aware of every plane. This is giving you more perspective. The entity is not only is the airport being shut down, this is very much a prosecution of the federal government, whose criminal pattern of conduct is underway in the state of California, as I am documenting it in the city of Ontario, and as I travel into any other cities such as, like what you're seeing in Upland, California, where the FAA is also aware of what would be ordinarily, if there wasn't targeting, cause for alarm. Because the entity has planes, commercial planes, that I can clearly see as an American citizen and that I've documented that don't belong in Upland, California, and the FAA is not doing anything about it, not saying anything about it, and it certainly isn't stopping. I've been documenting it for years. And it's occurring in the specific environment, pursuant to a system that the FAA is engaged in. Okay? This is a system of surveillance. The FAA is engaging what is psychological torture, ongoing terrorism. You have those that are the FAA. You're also talking about the authorities that are divvied by region. And they are no authority with regard to actual enforcement of the power that they have and what they're supposed to do with regard to checking, making sure that something like this isn't happening. It's happening because not only TSA, but you have the United States government that's maintaining surveillance. And it's surveillance as opposed to what is actually ensuring the safety of American citizens. They're ensuring the ongoing facilitation of this surveillance system. You do not have, and this is also how it's very common sense when you get to the level of evidence that I have. How is the FAA ignorant about it? They're not. That's why. That's the answer to that. They are not ignorant about it. Okay, and this is the entity that's engaged in this is the entity that is obsessively stalking, right? While the entity is already caught, I've done what was supposedly the impossible. A demon that gives birth to little demons is stalking me in plain sight, and all the government is aided in their criminal endeavor while they do so, and they're giving birth to the mentally ill. All right, they're engaging in what is mentally ill behavior. They're doing so in conformity to a government's mentally ill system, deranged, corrupt system. And the entity, I'm the only one that's saying anything about it. Nobody knows anything about it. And if you were to speak, you're speaking in terms of what is the entity that has a system designed to have you criminally defamed. And that's mostly because you don't know what you're talking about. You only know bits and pieces of what the entity is doing. And moreover, even if you do know, or if you have bits and pieces of it, which would be helpful, but you have to prove what you know. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Okay? And not only do you have to have substantial proof, not just proof, but substantial proof. All right. And so the entities, that is long gone. The entity is prosecuted. Why is Southwest Airlines comfortable stalking me in Upland, California? That's the question that you need to understand at this point in the evidence, because the FAA is engaged in surveillance. While at the same time, remember, so with that's giving you percent, hold that thought, because now you need to understand what's happening to people like Kobe Bryant. What's happening to the military aircraft that crashes into Delta Airlines on the East Coast? When I'm showing you that they're so much heavily engaged in, they're not just physically stalking, they're spiritually monitoring. They know when you're moving your pinky toe in your shoe. They know exactly, based on technology, based on communication devices, based on literally the environment. They know where you're at, they know what you're doing. So why do we have military planes crashing into commercial airline planes under the fake sun? This is not an accident. It is also not an oversight or a mystery while I am being stalked by these same types of aircrafts. While you have this system going on, but the FAA, nobody knew that or anticipated. Pursuant to surveillance, every phone call, every email is known about. You don't have any privacy, but yet 9/11 is able to occur. Okay? Nobody knows how they got into the cockpit. I'm not going to go into the details behind that, but I'm just letting you know this is an entity that's engaging in surveillance. There are no mysteries. There is no legitimate investigation. There are no unknown acts that come upon. These are supernatural beings. These are demons. And they've been trying to maintain control, monopolize the way that the world is working. And you know how they engage in exercising control and reigning in control? Killing people. This is how 9/11 becomes useful. And these same demons that are gang stalking me, they're very suicidal, and the government sacrifices them. They're nothing to the government. They're nothing. They're nothing other than bots. They come by the millions. They kill millions of them all the time. And they'll do that just to get to me, people like me. Okay, they'll poison everybody, and you don't know that there was actually one person that they were actually after, but everybody else has to die in order so that it doesn't look suspicious. Okay, the entities engage, and by suspicious I mean it doesn't look like one specific person was targeted. Everybody died. It was a tragic accident. Oh, and this is how it's reported, when actually you don't know anything about the fact that this is surveillance, including by the FAA. Every airline is engaging in surveillance. The TSA is engaged in what is surveillance. They're not getting anything on these planes absent that they have machines and technology that can see through your uterus. They can see through your bladder walls. They're not sneaking anything on the plane. The entity is engaging in what it's supposed to do, just like the people that said are supposed to be gang stalking me. And you see how thirsty they are. Now, that's a reference to the vernacular. Follow me, if those that are not aware. When I say something like thirsty, I'm speaking to someone that is exceedingly enthusiastic and highly motivated. And also, there's a suicidal tendency there because the mind is sick. You're going to prison. I've already proven that this is real. Nobody is questioning whether this is a hallucination. Oh, Erica, she's making some points, but we're not sure. That's not what's happening. The government is proven to be targeting me. The government is proven to be doing a lot of other egregious things as well, which you will learn about. Okay? Perhaps stealing me when I was a baby. Lying about my identity, lying to me about my identity, lying about the fact that I'm dead somewhere, but the FAA knows I'm not dead. The Treasury in the state of California knows I'm not dead. They've been stealing my money and divvying it up amongst each other, paying even gang stalkers. The people of the state that are stalking with light at F Street and Euclid know exactly who I am. They know how many breaths I'm taking per minute. These demons are monitoring. Monitoring spirits are not having plane accidents and car accidents. Monitoring spirits are those that are under the fake sun. The fake sun that remains over me, I'm the one that they're all concerned with, that they're all stalking and monitoring, that they're all obsessed with. And now they're admitting it to you while they're gasping, panting like dogs, stalking me so heavily. When at first they were trying to keep their composure, keep their cool, and try to make it look like somebody's hallucinating. Somebody's paranoid. Nobody's stalking her. Nobody could be the least concerned with her. Meanwhile, they are engaging in what is rituals in honor of me and my name and my genitalia. Okay? The entity is engaging what is changing menus at restaurants where I order a particular food, or the inventory in a store where I buy specific products. Whatever it is that I give my attention to, all of the demons give allegiance to it. No exaggeration. This is an entity that's engaging in that level. They don't have plane accidents. They don't have car crashes, unanticipated circumstances. They engage in suicide. These are demons. They are bots that are activated. Satan says, do it now, and they do it. They do it. Drive the car off the bridge with the kids. They get out and go into the Mall of America strapped with a whole bunch of weapons to kill as many people as possible, shoot as many people as possible. And they go on a police chase, the police chase that's under the fake sun. LAPD is keeping you entertained. They're keeping themselves employed. They're playing guns and robbers. Cops and robbers. That's what they're playing. Cops and robbers. These are demons that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. The identical P.O.C. Understand the fake sun is a supernatural phenomenon. Everything under that phenomenon is specifically tailored. A matter of very detailed, highly obsessive tracking. Okay? And the entity's doing so in the face of my evidence, which is directly exposing everything at the same time. You're stalking, I'm exposing. So now you're stalking, and you're stalking in front of everybody while I'm exposing. And the more that I expose, like the demons, that is, like the demons who are mentally ill people, all right, but these are non-humans actually, but the demon possessed in the physical are treated as humans with behavioral health issues, all right, and they are showing those behavioral health issues the more that they stalk me more heavily. It's more of the gang members that are outside of the store, more of the gang members follow me from aisle to aisle, more of the gang members that are stalking with light and all the light activity and all the plane and helicopter activity and the ongoing pacing. The more details that I give, the more descriptive that I become, the more information that I leak, the more that I talk about, the more psychotic they become. And in their minds, well, first of all, it doesn't scare me, but this is what they're hoping to scare me into silence. You see how that worked 11,000 videos into this investigation. The entity, it's going to distract me, and they're projecting because they have low intelligent quotients and they cannot focus. The entity is engaging in that which is supposed to trigger me. I'm supposed to get mad. Why would I be getting mad when I already won in a case? You're all going to be broke and your mother and your kids and your kids' kids are going to be broke when I'm done with you. There's nothing for me to be mad about. I won already. The entities engaging and the government that claim to be investigating me, they're going to pay me as well. This entity that distributed my evidence, this is why you have people on the internet copying what I thought of first. And let me be clear, this is not just about me. Oh, it's my idea first, because this is no small thing. This is evidence with regard to protecting myself and my safety. And you have demons, idiots, homosexuals that were putting it on the internet. That's what they're doing. And they did that while they were seeking to profit from and also falsely depict my character, my identity, my being responsible for that content. And you calling yourself being sorry after the fact. Do you hear the plane activity in the background? That's how much I care about your apology. That's how much I care about it. I don't care about your being sorry. I care about you going to prison. Because that's where you're going. You engaged in that with regard to intellectual property pursuant to terrorism that's proven a government when all you planned to do was have me appear as a criminal on paper and have a bunch of vagina monitors lie on me in court. And you merely put me in a uniform assigned to a mental ward, and that's how you were going to have me kidnapped so you can take my life, and you think I care about your apology? Where no matter how much truth I'm speaking, no matter how truthful it is, no matter how many facts there are, your criminal activity was supposed to supersede that. And you think I care about your apology. That's why your apology doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to any American citizen whose life is under threat by the psychopaths that are making up the corrupt government whose system is going out in flames. That's why your apology doesn't matter. My client that I would be representing in this type of case, I would be absolutely non-responsive. Were they trying to, matter of fact, I would use it as evidence that I accumulate against that person. Were they to have the audacity to contact my client after stealing this evidence, trying to distribute it, trying to falsely depict my client's character, plotting with everyone that my client knows in order to frame my client as someone that they're not, which would still not support or enable or authorize a government to stalk and harass and threaten you and keep you under surveillance in the absurd ways such as with planes and helicopters and feigning being a police department when you're a whole bunch of psychopathic panting dogs following me around everywhere, sniffing out what it is, where I'm at, and they don't have to sniff out anything. They're obsessively stalking, and all manner of technology keeps track of where I'm at and what I'm doing. It's not a police department. They're stalkers, okay? They're sex offenders, okay? They're engaged in surveillance of your genitalia. They know what's in the sky space. FAA knows what's taking off. FAA knows about the planes flying over the elderly people at the John Stewart Company, where I'm pointing out under the law clearly improper. This is not how that works at all. This is why you have zoning. This is why you have what are terminals where the planes are taking off. And this is not that. FAA knows about it. The FAA is guilty by virtue of this evidence. I'm exposing everyone because those that are in authority over these imps that I'm documenting, that I'm naming, that I'm prosecuting those that are in positions of authority over them. The federal government is engaged in surveillance. This is a whole system, a country full of demons. And demons come from across the globe to the United States to participate in this satanic, massive ritual of surveillance. The surveillance is demonic. That impossible light activity, that fake sun, that's massive manipulation. It's literally witchcraft. All right, but this is the entity that's maintaining that environment around me, and that's the pattern of conduct. And everything that they do, it's smiling and cheesing and laughing and talking and pointing. Oh, look at the sky, like nothing is happening. That's the entity that is mentally ill. They show their mental illness. It's not giving what the entity intended for it to give, meaning the target individual is ostracized, is standing out as isolated, as mentally ill and paranoid. No, it's appearing with regard to evidence that you have what is a population that is severely sick and in denial with regard to the height of evidence that no number of gang stalkers can overwhelm or contend with. Because the gang members, the millions and millions of them that are in this environment engaging in the pattern of conduct that are prosecuted by facts. Facts are not going to change by how many wrongdoers there are. The facts remain the same. So that means every single last one of them are prosecuted. And they're shown to be psychopaths together who rely on gang violence. They just rely on their gang members helping them create that narrative together. That's it. So I just wanted to point that out. There is a history of evidence at that intersection where that entity coming from Giant Valley, and that's exactly what I said. They're stalking at the entrance of the store. They're helping a store engage in what is stalking me. The people in that store, reliable properties, and the entity that's gang stalking the government. You're talking about every layer is federally prosecuted by virtue of that. The entity is taking itself out. I have a systematic means of identifying them and prosecuting them. Systematic. And the entity that is, again, inferior just engages in more criminal activity whereby you're prosecuted. You're still prosecuted after you give me that 20-minute video of stalking me in helicopter. Okay, that was a spectacular means of you being prosecuted. It's not changing that. This is the entity that engages in that. So you're stalking me at the Upland Public Library today by helicopter, and the entity's engaging in an ongoing pattern of conduct. This is how you know what 1452 North Euclid Avenue is engaging in. Absolutely stalking, where they're maintaining commercial planes at that intersection at 5th Street and Euclid. What is the entity doing at F Street and Euclid? Stalking. And what does the Ontario International Airport? You're talking about the terminals. You're talking about the set way, the uniform means of a takeoff, which is something that could even be, it's a matter of judicially noticed facts, but that is something that even an expert, i.e. a pilot, can testify to within the walls of a court as to how a basic takeoff is conducted. And it is not this asinine entity that I'm documenting, FedEx and Southwest and Delta Airlines and every other airline, the Ontario International Airport, in other words, the airline industry, because I'm prosecuting every brand, the airline industry engaging while they are stalking me, which is with the blessing of the FAA, that are maintaining a surveillance system replete with a fake sun, a fake moon, all right, engineered light. Well, they're monitoring demons. And this is how you have people like Kobe Bryant. This is how you have people like the young man that was murdered. And, I'm sorry, I don't know his name. I did not read up on his name, but this is the one I've been talking about for months since it happened. He was riding his skateboard in the middle of the street. The Los Angeles Police Department has been engaged in years of criminal surveillance. It's a matter of evidence of the P.O.C. They don't accidentally hit anybody. I'm showing you that they're engaging in surveillance on the roads and the highways. LAPD committed murder, killed that young man on the skateboard, pursuant to what was turning on their signs. They use criminal summoning to commit murder, which is the purpose of gang stalking police departments. And the entity engages in what is stalking me by helicopter, confirming that to you. The police know where the helicopter activity, what are you talking about? This is absurd what these idiots do. In the same way that the FAA knows about every plane, the police are aware of the helicopter activity that I'm subject to everywhere in the city. This is very clear cut. And so is the fact that they're going to prison. And so is the fact that it is legally irrelevant whether you are apologetic or not. And to be honest with you, your apology is taken and strut. It's balanced out with the fact that you just weren't going to get away with taking my life like other people's lives were taken. That's why you're apologetic, because, oh, it looks like you're not getting away with it this time. So then you start having realizations. Then it starts getting heavy and you start losing your breath and it gets a little hot in the room because you're not getting away with it. That's not genuine, authentic, organic regret for what it is that you've done to another human being as you assess yourself. It's fear because you're caught. And again, I don't care about that. Neither would my client, who I'd be representing in this type of case against the United States government. The entities engaging in this, and I want to be clear, the entity that is engaging in targeting me like this, as I still remain subject to it and has been for a prolonged period, thinking and waiting for me to drop dead, and then at which point the entity was just going to write me off as another one of these gang stalkers in order to, and why, how would that serve the government? Because the government has committed crimes against me. And then those same government officials are then claiming that they're apologetic. No, you're going to prison for what you did. This is terrorism. You stole my intellectual property and distributed it on the internet, which is taking away from the importance of what it is that I'm documenting. It helps it to stand out less. You did that on purpose. You did that on purpose with regard to making money, but you also did it as an idiot, as an ignoramus, not even understanding the type of damage that you're doing. And this is why you don't engage in copyright infringement. This is why you don't engage in what is theft of someone else's intellectual property. Because you're engaging in all manner, multitudinous ways of harming that person, including when that intellectual property is literally the way in which you are prosecuting a government that is otherwise able to kill you in the light of day and get away with it. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. Where I was at right now, the entity stalking by plane, the demon stalking by light, doing so at that intersection. This is the entity that's putting into context everything that's been documented over there. And that's just, as again, where I'm at, this is how I go moment by moment, iteration by iteration of the P.O.C. But that's prosecuting this is prosecution of the system. No matter where it's at, no matter who is specifically acting. Okay, but let's be mindful. That corner, that intersection, a lot of action documented there, a lot of criminal activity there, a lot right there. While the entity is stalking, flying here, you hear them stalking. This is the Senior Center Ovid Family Community Library. What does this from the Ontario International Airport have to do with what is north of this location at F Street and Euclid? And the answer is nothing. Clear deviation, flying even more northwest. How are you getting that from the Ontario International Airport? And you don't even get this location from the Ontario International Airport. It's houses behind. These are the mentally ill that are flying west, as though you're not going to think, okay, so you're flying west from the airport? No, you couldn't, because the airport is southeast of this location. It's not a straight shot. And you're engaging in what is a far deviation, a far cry from having, and you have a whole body of evidence of them engaging in that necessarily. There's no planes taking off over the 60 freeway at Economy Inn. There's no planes taking off flying over the sidewalk over the top of my head. There's no planes that are going to be in the middle of Montclair hovering so down that they're outside of the bus window that I'm sitting out, the window that I'm sitting on outside on aboard Omnitrans driving into Pomona, California. This is the absurdity. And I have the absurdity is the evidence of both criminal activity, guilt, and also mental illness. And nobody cares about your apologies. What I want and what I would be arguing on behalf of any client of mine is that you're going to prison. And that is not negotiable. You're going to federal prison for the damages that you cannot apologize your way out of, for money that cannot compensate adequately for time that you can never get back, which is, its time is non-refundable. Okay, this is that P.O.C. Nobody forgot. You've been engaged in also delaying justice because you're getting as many people out of the way, trying to remove as much evidence as you think that you can, even though you're not getting away with anything. My memory is long. The entity is going to be compelled to speak on things that it doesn't anticipate. It's going to come out. The Lord God is going to cause all of it to come out. But you're going to prison for these things. The intangibles. You're going to prison for it. You're not getting away with it. You're going to federal prison. All right, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:45 p.m., I just wanted to include this because there are people that are still increasingly delusional with regard to having hopes. There is no hope for reconciling with me. There is no reconciliation with someone that engaged in attempted murder. Now, this is axiomatic, but for those that are actually suffering from mental instability, these are the type of boundaries that you have to publicly and clearly make because of the level of obsessive and delusional thoughts and ideas, things that are never going to happen. And there is no amount of money and there is no amount of time. The only way that this could have happened is if you were not engaged in sexual activity with those that I know, including those that I'm related to, and you were around to get me off of the sidewalk from sleeping outside, say, I don't know, like 8.5 years ago. That's the only way that that would have happened. That's the only way. Let me repeat that. That is the only way that that would have happened, that being a reconciliation. It is not going to happen. And it's not going to happen against my will. And there shall be laws created for terrorists like Tracy Banks, terrorists like Eric Spencer, terrorists like Jason Isaac Fields, who you are not any family member. You do not have any right. No one does. This is the government engaging in surveillance. This is literally the practical the practical working of the law. Because the government's engaging in surveillance, you literally don't even have a right to be at work because the government's maintaining criminal surveillance while you're at work. You are not under the law seen as my mom. And even if you are my mom, you're engaged in criminal surveillance and the law's not going to treat you different because you're known as mom. You're being prosecuted for surveillance with the government that's conspiring the murder of that person whose path you are criminally crossing on behalf of that public entity that has designed a whole system for that. And this is how the entity engaged in that. And this is the backfire of that ongoing obsessive system, Satan that thought he had all bases covered. And you did, Satan. You have all bases covered. And the flip side of that is that I'm prosecuting you everywhere. At all times, I'm prosecuting you. And all that Satan is doing now is giving me what is more and more information and context for you to understand what has already happened, how this system of terrorism in the U.S. is actually applying to things that we've been lied to about, like 9/11, like Charlie Kirk's murder that occurred the day before 9/11, under the fake sun, where you have massive amount of demons that joined for that death ritual. That's what that was. And the entity that then engages in what is, mockery with regard to in the wake of his death. There are no accidents here. It's the same government that's gang stalking me that is taking people out. People that are a part of this system, by the way. Like I said, they sacrifice their own. They're casualties. And they call that what is necessary with regard to the bigger picture. They don't mean it. This is why you also don't want to serve Satan. Satan has no loyalties to you. But nonetheless, the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and these are the type of things that are happening. There's no accidents. They don't have any oversight. They don't have any mysteries. They're not conducting investigations. There's not things that they're trying to learn. The only thing that they're trying to figure out and learn is how I beat them, how I know, how I was able to do it, why I'm not dead, why they thought that I was stupid and that they thought that they were ever wise in the first place. You're the one walking around with burning genitalia. You're the one that's stalking me by helicopter about every 3.5, 4 hours. Every time you think about how bad I'm beating you on the internet. And beating on the internet, that's nothing other than a means of an American citizen that's being targeted by literally the court system. And you think you're going to stop me from prosecuting you? Now it's going to be even worse. I'm going to prosecute you in my courtroom, which is legally authorized under the Constitution that you don't have authority under as the criminal, which I have proven with tangible evidence that I am in front of the whole world, making you what is showing you to be the incompetent entity, incompetent population. You're not going to involuntarily commit me. I'm going to have you subject to martial law while you are in fact proven to be mentally ill as a population of corrupt vagina monitors, sex offenders pacing all around in engineer light, monitoring everyone everywhere all day long, all night long, never taking a nap, never taking a break, never stopping, and not having one iota of legitimacy or credibility. I do it on social media. I do it on the internet because it is necessarily witnessed in front of the whole world while I embarrass the United States of America that's engaged in murdering people, stalking them. The absurdity of that. The United States of America is a stalker. The United States of America is a stalker. And those that engaged in, those that conform to the system, you've been relegated to being a stalker. You're already disqualified. You can keep your apology. I've already stated what is the case. You're already forgiven. Get out of my energy. This is also why you're disrespectful and you refuse to get in your lane, which is not in my energy. And when I say no, I mean no. You're bringing on more humiliation to yourself, which again has nothing to do with me. But I said no, and I mean no. You will not engage in targeting me, and it will be the same for my client. And that is under the law because of the role that you have. And so you're talking about now as a matter of what is a law and my protection, my client's protection. You're not going to talk to this person. You're not going to be in contact with this person because this person is engaged in targeting you. And there is a legal case that is in progress right now. Period. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:51 p.m. This is helping to assuage those that are still deluding themselves and those that are supporting those that are deluding themselves. I'm just here to prosecute, and the entity is engaging for whatever reason. However this works, the entity is sitting on the internet watching me still being gang stalked in 2026. The entity is after I've proven the case. On top of that, it's not like I'm starting in the wilderness on day one anymore. I have proven it beyond a reasonable doubt to a scientific degree, and the world is watching me being gang stalked. Not only that, the entity is engaged in gang stalking, and the government is doing it in the United States of America, where there's supposedly law and order. The president knows what's going on. The Pentagon, the FAA knows about these planes. The police departments are aware of me being followed around. Oh, it's because they're the ones stalking me in the helicopters. That's why. And it's permitted in front of the world. They're all watching a government engage in criminal activity against me, and everybody's just watching that. And you think I care about your apology. It's absolutely irrelevant. Don't worry, you're already forgiven, but it's absolutely irrelevant. It will never happen. It will never happen. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:52 p.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is the University of Laverne that is stalking while the U.S. military, the government, this is the city of Ontario, stalking by helicopter. They are flying over the law school. The law school is engaged in gang stalking. And the entity has been engaging in stalking in this helicopter for approximately 1 hour. The entity is engaging in what is psychopathic pacing, and it started out with the demons of the city of Ontario. All the vagina monitors that are listening to the podcast that reference them by department. The Ontario Police Department, vagina monitors. Stalking with criminal summoning. The Ontario Fire Department, American Medical Response, vagina monitors. Psychopaths who are sex offenders and overpaid stalkers. Okay? Whose involuntary commitment is pending. The entity is engaging in what is criminal summoning, and then this demon starts stalking in a helicopter and has been doing so for over an hour. And the University of Laverne College of Law is going to be prosecuted for it. They're inside of that building, by the way, stalking with the entity, staring at, you know what these beavers in the spirit are doing, these demons, sitting there staring at their phones, monitoring. While the entity is surrounding the perimeter, stalking in hell, and all those freak weirdos are listening to me describe them now. Losers that sound sirens that are not going to stop them from being put against their will in a facility where they will be locked down 23 hours a day. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in this. It's 11 p.m. This is the entity that's at the Ovid Family Community Library, the Ontario City Hall, where a gang stalking mayor, a gang stalking city council that's engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring. And the FAA knows all about it. They know all about the commercial planes that are stalking in Ontario, California, and in Upland, California. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 11 p.m. It doesn't get any more blatant than a freak weirdo that won't stop following you around. This is literally what they're literally stalking, and I could not care less, and it's beyond just annoying. It's not even serving a purpose. You want to be on the internet shown to be an obsessed stalker that needs to be committed. This is the entity that's just stalking me. Was doing so for an hour while I'm at the library. Now I'm at the square, and the entity is flying and stalking. These are losers. These are people that contemplate suicide on a daily basis. On a daily basis. And you're talking about a government that clearly has nothing to do. They don't have anything to do. This is why the Ontario Police Department is not just being criminally prosecuted, but it's being defunded. Disbanding is to recover money that's wasted. Removing Paul Leon and the Ontario City Council and that City Hall and the Senior Center and this town square where the entities engage in criminal activity is to recover money that is wasted. This is the P.O.C. The entity is stalking by helicopter. And it's pathetic. It's 11:32 p.m.